Good evening, everyone. Sorry about the 3 or 4 minute delay there. We were just had a few technical hitches, but we're all sorted. And welcome to Talking Who, episode 3.
Weeks now.
We are. I know, it's amazing.
Yes.
I'm Elisar.
I'm Sean.
And you may know us as those video guys, but right now
you might know us as Talking Who.
we're not, you might just know us as Talking Who. Depends how you discovered our show. Welcome back to all those who are just watching those video guys just an hour previously, or just minutes now. And hello to all people who are tuning in just now for Talking
Whovians.
Who. All the Whovians.
Sticking with the new series and sticking with us to discuss the new series and what's going on.
Indeed. So let's we have a bit of there's some Doctor Who news today.
Got some news, a bit of controversy actually.
Indeed.
Yes.
The Sun newspaper actually put out a story in the paper today that Sarah Jane Adventures was going to be coming back. Obviously, we know that they've filmed three stories, which is 6 episodes, but there was 3 that they hadn't actually filmed yet. And the Sun was saying, yes, this is all going ahead. They're going to rewrite it without Sarah Jane and film the last 3 stories without her. Until, of course, Phil Ford, who is one of the Sarah Jane writers, said that's a load of rubbish. That's not true.
Dear editor of the Sun, I think you'll all find there's plenty of news out there today without having to make stuff that boop up.
And of course, then the BBC have actually now said themselves that the story in the Sun is not true.
Yes.
They do not plan to film any more Sarah Jane Adventures. The next 3 stories, which have already been filmed, will be the last ones, and they will be showing that later in the year. I guess, I don't know, in between Doctor Who and Christmas, maybe.
I'm wondering though if the BBC are going to try and do something else, because it's shown there's a market here for a spin-off with a Doctor Who character aimed at the younger Doctor Who fan, whether they'll try and launch something else, like
the Ace Adventures,
the Ace Adventures, the Joe Grant Adventures, the Tegan Adventures, the Rose Tyler Adventures.
I would like to see the Ace Adventures. I have to say,
I suspect Russell T Davies might launch the Adric Adventures.
Well, I'm hoping that
he survived the crash and now he's hanging out at Heaven nightclub.
Or he became a Cyberman. Perhaps he becomes Croton.
Yes.
From the Doctor Who weekly comic strips. The friendly Cyberman.
Nice, yes, user-friendly Cyberman who does not delete.
And Doctor Who magazine came out yesterday, which I don't have yet because magazine. I think most newsagents won't actually get it till tomorrow. I think. The Doctor's Wife, interesting.
Yes, well, I think this it would be interesting to see what happens there. But
this is just one of those titles which has just been put out there because they know it's going to cause a lot of controversy. But of course, when you actually watch it, it's got nothing to do.
But what it'll be some woman who thinks she's the Doctor's wife, but actually won't.
Like the next Doctor or the Doctor's daughter, who's not the Doctor's daughter. She's just a clone of the Doctor.
Yeah.
Not just, because obviously that makes her part-time.
Well, she was the Doctor's daughter, but a different Doctor.
But not
the
really.
Fifth Doctor.
Not a Doctor. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
Now she is the Doctor's wife.
She's the Doctor's wife and the Doctor's daughter.
Yes.
Which is at the same time.
It's temporal incest.
Indeed. So this week we had part 2 of the Impossible Astronaut.
So we did.
Yes. Well, I knew going into this episode that we weren't going to have any answers, because I think it was quite obvious in the Impossible Astronaut that Day of the Moon were not going to present.
You remember we were talking about last week about how Planets of the Spiders was very typical of the period. You get these 6-part or these 8-part Doctor Who stories, which you could easily cut an episode or 2 out, and this actually felt like this was a story that had actually been written to be 6 parts and then had 2 parts cut out.
Well,
it really felt to me like there was chunks missing out of it.
They could have done a 3rd episode, yes, quite easily. I think.
I have to say though, the interesting thing was I watched it, and as I was watching it, you're kind of very confused. But you can tell Moffat has got a direction he's going in, so you just kind of go with it, because it's not like when you're watching a show like, say, Lost, and they're making stuff up as they go along, and you go, the people making this don't know what they're doing. You know very well, you're watching it, you don't know what's happening, but you know very well that Moffat knows where he's going with this. Yes. And then by the time it comes to the end, suddenly all pieces start fitting in together. But as you said, there were huge chunks of it which weren't explained, but their stuff you very much got the feeling was deliberately not explained, because that's something that's going to be dealt with.
This was not a two-part story.
I don't even think this is this. I think, I mean, as you saw, the Silents were referenced last season,
Indeed.
and I think that this is something which is going to be an arc. It isn't going to be a season arc, but it's something that's going to cover all of Moffat's period. But that and River Song's story, I think, will cover all of Moffat's period as producer on the show.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree. We do know that episodes 5 and 6 is a two-parter.
Yeah.
7 going into the next.
7,
8 will be a two-parter.
Is a two-parter because apparently there is this big game-changing cliffhanger to it. So it's obviously, if it's a cliffhanger, it's got to lead into something else.
This is all this one long adventure really that's happening right now. There are gaps in the Day of the Moon Impossible Astronaut that we haven't yet filled. Like, for instance, they did not go back and show who it is in the astronaut suit who shoots the Doctor.
Yeah.
My own personal theory is I think it is actually the Doctor again.
Even what's going on there, because it still is. They have not changed the potential future. The Doctor could still potentially be shot in this regeneration and not be able to regenerate.
Indeed, yes.
Unless they do something, the Doctor is going to die in 200 years' time, which means that either Matthew Smith has to stay playing the Doctor for a very long time, or when he quits the role, they'll have to cancel the show.
But between William Hartnell and Tom Baker, he aged what, 200 years?
Yeah.
So that, how many years was that? 10 years, perhaps. So Matt Smith has to be the Doctor for 10 years for it to work in human years. 10 years is 200 Time Lord years.
Well, we know the way it is with time on a show like this. You can end an episode and then just say, now it's 50 years later.
But that's the thing about the Doctor, is that you do, in his life, you do have these gaps.
Yeah.
Where suddenly, he says, okay, this time I'm 600 years old.
Yeah.
Next time I'm 650 years old. And of course, that's what's given rise to the books, the audio adventures. They're filling all those gaps.
But it's actually amazing. They actually create gaps. You have a story, like you look at Genesis of the Daleks.
Yes.
And after Genesis of the Daleks, they get a time ring. And then at the start of Revenge of the Cybermen, they're using the time ring and they're arriving on Nerva Beacon.
Yes.
But they've written a book set between them.
Right, yeah. Well,
and they're actually creating gaps where there aren't any gaps and sticking a story in there.
So, Day of the Moon.
So what do you think of the Silents then? What do you think of them as villains?
I think these are actually a really clever villain, only on the basis, of course, that if these guys have been around for thousands of years, well, you would have come across them before.
Yeah,
but of course, you forget about them. Even the Doctor is not immune to forgetting the Silence. So you can easily, I mean, again, audio adventures, books, they can all fill the gaps of perhaps the Doctor has encountered, but he's just forgotten the Silence.
I felt the whole idea, it's a bit like with the Blink. It's a incredible concept, the fact that this monster you see, and then the minute you don't look at them, you forget all about them. And Moffat played that for all it's worth at certain points in the story, when suddenly they were finding their hand flashing with this information.
Well, that whole scene with Amy in the orphanage, where you really had, they played it out as if it was just one short scene, but actually there was huge time jumps in between even every shot.
Yes.
You know, her walking to the mirror, not to the mirror, to the glass, and seeing her reflection. You know, she had all these. So how long has she actually been in there? And she would probably have been in there for possibly, half an hour or something.
I think the Silence, the makeup job on them, I think their faces they look really scary. But the big question for me about the Silence, the big question that needs to be answered, how do they get those suits on? We've got those big heads and those big hands. I just can't work out how they get that tiny shirt and tie.
The other thing, of course, if they've been around for thousands of years, did we have Silence wearing Roman uniforms?
Or maybe they've been influencing us deliberately so they can get tailors, so they can get these costumes back.
Did they invent the suit?
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe. But yes, how do you do that? How do you get your tie done with such long fingers? I don't know. But we've had some tweets in about Day of the Moon from.
We have indeed.
UT Markle. Day of the Moon was amazing. I love the Silence, one of the creepiest villains in sci-fi ever. Strong words. Harles Jane TW, it was amazing. And Tybit says, my only comment to Doctor Who's Day of the Moon is wow, repeated infinitely. Yeah, it was a good 2-part story, and you know, of course, we have so many questions, and of course, one of the big questions is the young girl. Who is the young girl? Who is that
young girl? Yes, and the other question is Amy and the baby.
The baby, of course. Now, I think they're definitely leading us to want to believe that this is Amy's child. You got the photograph. So my own opinion is this: if they're trying to make us believe that, it probably isn't the case. I don't think that, you know, and she's regenerating. I think this is going to be, you know, this is probably
regenerating. That was another interesting. That was like, what the hell's going on there?
That was really caught me off guard completely. Yes. But it's regeneration. It has to be a Time Lord. I don't, you know, I'd be really upset if there was
or Time Lord DNA. Maybe. I mean, the silence.
I would be upset about
already
this.
Have some form of time machine.
Okay. So here's my thought. Right.
Yeah.
You have a Time Lord. Yeah. Apparently.
Yeah.
This could be their TARDIS. And the reason that she's there and captured by the Silence is that they've obviously they're parasites. Yep. They steal technology. So this is how they've managed to get hold of the TARDIS, is that they've kept this child prisoner.
Yeah.
And perhaps the spacesuit was a way of keeping the child as a child and not letting her grow or age as a Time Lord or regenerate. Yes. And maybe actually, you know, maybe they've made her into a child. And that actually previously what we're going to have is that her next regeneration should actually go back to her normal age as being a fully grown Time Lord.
Yes.
But I think this will be a new character. I know people would like to wish it could be Romana coming back or any of these Time Lords we've had previously. But I think if you as a head writer were wanting to put your stamp, I don't think you would rehash old characters. You would create a new one.
It depends on the producers. I mean, someone like John Nathan Turner or Russell T Davies did seem to take a lot of joy in bringing back old characters. I get the impression, though, that Stephen Moffat, though, is wanting to do new stuff.
Yes, I do, yeah.
And also, rather controversially, what do you think about the fact that the Doctor could be ending up with a bit of romance?
Well, I mean, if you're going by what River Song is saying, then they are going to have a romance.
They're going to become passionate lovers, I got the impression at some point.
How are they going to do this? I think we're going to have another girl in the fireplace situation. We're going to have a situation where for the Doctor, their romance will just be hours, days maybe, but to River Song it will be a lifetime. I think that's the only way they can really get around, unless they have River Song as a full-time companion for a few years, and a reason for them to really be completely connected. They would have to do some sort of girl in the fireplace kind of situation. But we have a comment from Helen, who is a YouTube fan of Doctor Who, and has some comments. Here we are. Helen, yeah. She has on this. She's got a.
I've got a couple of theories going on that I think everyone seems to think that the child has something to do with Amy, but there's a lot of things in that episode that kind of made me think that maybe it isn't actually Amy's child. I think the main thing that's quizzing me at the moment is the person that came to the door when Amy was in the orphanage, the woman with the eye patch, who I personally thought looked a lot like River. And the little girl as well, she just doesn't seem... She doesn't seem like an Amy girl. I don't know what it is. I really don't know what's going on. I don't know whether it's a whole thing to distract us. So we think. I know that there was the picture. I know there was a picture on the side.
Okay, that was Helen. She's got a she's done about a 4-minute review of Day of the Moon. That was a clip of it. YouTube.com/absolute twaddle. If you have your own comments about future episodes, let us know, and we'll play clips as well on Talking Who. Marcus Judge on Twitter has tweeted in saying he thinks the girl might be Jenny. Could be, maybe, possible. The return of Jenny. I mean, that was a Stephen Moffat creation.
Yes.
So it's quite
That's
possible.
interesting.
Yeah.
She could.
I hadn't thought about that at all, I have to say.
That's one I hadn't really thought about either.
Yeah.
Because the one thing is, I don't think it's going to be somebody from Gallifrey.
Right.
Because we have the whole thing with the Time War and everything like that.
Yeah.
So.
Do you think Stephen Moffat might be trying to find a way to bring the Time Lords back?
I don't know. I haven't really thought of that. I can't really see a reason why to bring the Time Lords back.
I mean, if they did, though, I mean, the Doctor would be like the universe's most wanted man, because every Time Lord, probably on Gallifrey, would be sent on a mission to hunt him down and bring him to trial once more.
But plus, I've had enough of him being tried. Now, I actually find it interesting that with this new series, by destroying Gallifrey, you managed to get back to how Doctor Who was during the Hartnell and the Pertwee series, where he's somebody who's lost.
Yes, indeed, yeah. More comments in the chat room. Leia Sora thinks, I think the child has to do with the Doctor's future self and his halted regeneration. Doctor Who Ellis thinks that she does look like Amy and that she is Amy's child.
Well, if she's Amy's child, how come she's regenerating?
That's the thing. And I think, they want us to think this, which is why I think it's not Amy's child.
Yeah. Well, we even have the question of when the Doctor's scanning Amy at the end of the episode. She's pregnant, she is pregnant, she's pregnant, she is pregnant.
Exactly.
Pregnant,
they don't want us... They're trying to implant things in... I think they're trying to implant red herrings. I think there's going to be a lot of this, actually. I think there are just... Because there are so many things they're just throwing at us, they're just throwing some red herrings at us as well. And I think Amy and the child is going to be the biggest red herring.
Yeah.
But what else did you... I mean, any other thoughts on Day of the Moon?
The other thought I
Mark
had...
Sheppard was great, I have to say. And I think he's going to come back. You might
hopefully.
know. You might know because you're his friend.
He's not told me anything on that front so far. But now, one thing that I did find interesting with this... Now, I love the episode. But for me, I was wondering how this is going to affect Doctor Who audience as a whole. It's so complex in terms of its writing. I felt it was adult in its themes and the way it was produced. And compared to Russell T Davis's period, is this going to put certain viewers, the younger viewers, off?
Well, younger viewers, no. Younger viewers just watch it. As long as you give them a monster of the week, they're happy.
You should. Because
I mean,
if I was 8 years old, I'd have no clue what was going on.
How many stories of the classic era, and I hate using new and classic because it's all Doctor Who. It's the same Doctor. Why is he new or classic? But let's say in the era that we were watching when we were growing up, how many stories do you appreciate more now as an adult than you would as a child, when really you only could think about is what the creature was?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, the Brain of Morbius, I just remember the monster, but that's all I really remember of it, because that's all that as a child that I'm going to focus on is the Doctor in danger, and he has to do this sort of mind game, and it's a monster. But that's all I pretty much remember. As an adult, you watch it again, you think, wow, this is a great story. And that was kind of gothic and dark as well, and we had the scenes with Sarah Jane being blind. I think Doctor Who is just one of those shows you can enjoy adult and child alike, and you just appreciate on different levels. So I hope that it doesn't put people off.
Oh, I definitely hope it doesn't.
The BBC have been pushing it really hard in America for this season.
Yes.
They should have probably given that same push last year.
I think they would have been better last year.
Because that's the jumping in point.
Last year's, when Doctor Who started the start of its 5th season, or season...
It's a jumping in point, absolutely.
It was when they introduced Matt Smith, it was a perfect jumping in point. I think this season, I would think if you were a new fan, a new viewer, it would be a bit harder.
Yeah.
And so for next week's episode, looks like it's going all pirate.
The Curse of the Black Spot.
Yes.
Which, if you look on the picture there on your screen now, you see the black spot.
Yes.
It's on Rory's hand.
Yes, poor Rory.
So Rory is going to carry a curse with him, is he?
And we've got...
Actually, there's another thing we didn't mention. Is Rory.
Yeah.
He remembered the fall of Rome. Now, this was Rory the Auton, who lived through... the last 2,000 years.
I actually thought about that, yes.
But here we have, after the big reset, Rory the Human remembering his time as Rory the Auton. Now this could be a bit significant, and I think a bit overlooked by the fans and the theorists trying to work out, because I think that is I think that's significant, and I don't know why yet, but I think it will be the fact that the Auton Rory is still in his mind. But we shall see. We shall see.
So in the next episode, though, we also have our
Amy.
Pirate Pond.
Pirate Pond.
Pirate Pond, yes.
Barry Aldridge says this reminds me of Pirates of the Caribbean indeed. John Renegade says about this series, it's one of the things I've heard is it was said that this would be the darkest it's ever been.
Well, it's been pretty dark so far.
But John Renegade thinks it would take a lot to be darker than Sylvester McCoy.
Oh, come on. There were darker stuff before Sylvester McCoy.
But Sylvester McCoy was a
Caves of Androzani.
He was a darker Doctor, though. There was definitely something inside. It was
ultimate rice pudding.
No, there was something, and it wasn't really until Doctor and Ace.
I have to say there was something about Sylvester McCoy that when he was good, he was one of the best Doctors, and when he was bad, he was one of the worst.
But when he was bad, it was the stories.
No, it was
that he was given.
It was something he could do serious and he could do drama.
He's a great actor,
though. Every time he had to do
isn't he?
comedy type stuff, it was like, I think him saying to Davros, "Ultimate rice pudding." There's a good example. Or for no apparent reason, jumping off a cliff at the end of one of the episodes of Dragonfire, or. Oh, there were lots of episodes. Or what about in the final ever episode when he's yelling, "If you fight like animals, you'll die like animals"? I was cowering behind the sofa then for all the wrong reasons.
Oh, you're too cruel. Sylvester McCoy was great.
I love Sylvester McCoy, but that was not Doctor Who's darkest period by any.
No, but the character.
Shot.
I think the Doctor's character. They hinted at stuff in his character during his time with Ace. That you think this would, it was a shame that it ended when it did, because it was obviously going in a particular direction.
From what I understand, what they were planning on doing was Ace was going to become a time lady. That some Time Lords were going to turn up, and the Doctor was going to say to her, "Right, you've had your training with me. Off to the academy with you," and she would have become a time lady.
And of course, the David Tennant story, Human Nature, was actually
originally a Sylvester McCoy
written as a Sylvester
novel.
McCoy story. Yes.
Yeah.
So that was actually written for his Doctor. Right. Absolute twaddle. Rice pudding. And Doctor Who Ellis thinks that they should put that line on a T-shirt.
And actually, the Doctor himself has actually been remaining within the news. It's been quite a busy week for events, and the Doctor has been around. As photos circulating across the world have shown, the Doctor was actually invited to the royal wedding.
Well, was he invited, or did he gate crash? Because we know that from the Amy.
How can you just walk in?
We know from Amy and Rory's wedding, he does just gate crash.
I know that, but I'm pretty sure
course,
he probably got a invite off the Queen.
He's now worked out how to make the TARDIS invisible.
Yeah.
Now, TARDIS invisible.
Sure
I mean,
Actually, here's a little trivia point for you. The TARDIS was supposed to go invisible in Terror of the Zygons.
Right.
There was supposed to be a scene where the Doctor makes the TARDIS invisible. But the footage they shot of the TARDIS there, and then they moved it out the way and reshot the footage to kind of like do it. There was such a change in the sunlight.
Right.
They couldn't
it didn't
do
work.
the scene, so it was actually scripted. So this was something they considered.
But didn't it go invisible during Patrick Troughton in one adventure?
It may have done. I'm not too sure. It might have been one of these adventures that they threw on the rubbish.
But
tip.
surely the invisibility option has got to be a part of the comedian circuit. So
not necessarily. The comedian circuit is changing the actual exterior shape.
But going invisible is also changing, because you obviously the way light is reflecting. I don't know. But anyway, I think he's probably fixed it. The TARDIS has rebooted itself. It has fixed itself. And he just likes to keep it as the police box. Now, last week you were talking about the new Daleks and hating the new design. And I kind of like the new design, except I don't think the new design doesn't work in merchandise.
Oh, right. You mean like this?
Like a Doctor Who clock. I think they look great on screen. I think they're very imposing. If you've been to the Doctor Who experience and actually seen how big they are. They are so much bigger. They do look more threatening. So I don't have a problem from that point of view. But merchandise, I don't like the toys as much as the originals. I don't think they're quite as merchandisable.
I used to have a talking Dalek when I was a kid. One of the first toys I got.
Is that one of the Peter Cushing ones?
No. This came out about 1974, 75. You could buy one that was grey or red, had a button on its head, and it would come out with about 3 or 4 phrases from the TV series.
Oh, okay.
Exterminate, I am a Dalek.
Of course, there are 2 different types of Dalek merchandise. There's the official BBC Doctor Who one, and of course there's the official Peter Cushing Doctor Who movie Daleks. And of course, the movie Daleks, they had some pretty good merchandise. I mean, they were the first ones with those sort of really nice big, 12-inch ones. I like those. I like those classic movie Daleks. Anything else from the?
Anything else from the
web? No. Well, yes. A very considerate fan has decided to create a timeline for River and the Doctor. Which is available. You can search for that.
That will obviously be
for all those who are a bit confused.
It's
a work in progress, but it's for all those confused about where the stories interact, how River and the Doctor are interacting. It can be quite confusing, and there you are, a nice graphic for you. John Renegade asked us if we've seen the Dalek dressed up for the royal wedding. We did actually show that last week.
Yes.
On last week's show, John. And Doctor Who Ellis thinks we should have a talking Dalek on Talking Who. And Barry Aldred loved the Dalek jelly babies that we had last week.
Okay, so what do you want to move on to next?
Well, I just want to give a plug to a website.
Okay.
Doctor Who Bar, who've been very kind and retweeted a lot of our comments on Twitter.
Thanks, guys.
Doctor Who Bar, they are a website and Twitter feed, and they'll at particular times of the week you can watch a DVD at the same time with other fans and tweet along what you're watching. It's a bit of fun. So enjoy them. DoctorWhoBar.blogspot.com.
They're actually watching now.
And they're watching
now.
Guys. Hello, guys.
So they can't get in chat, just Twitter.
You can't get in the chat room. Oh, dear. Okay, so if we go to our Fandorica section,
Fandorica next. So what have we got going on Fandorica
we're going to talk
week?
about. I'm going to talk about the podcast of the week for this week.
Okay, podcast of the week.
And the podcast of the week is the aptly titled The Doctor Who Podcast at the DoctorWhoPodcast.com. These guys, James, Trevor, and Tom are the hosts. I really enjoy this. This is kind of like a real fun podcast. If you're into it, it's a British podcast, and they have one thing which I really liked is their sort of kooky theories of the week. And of course, Stephen Moffat is giving lots and lots of opportunities for kooky theories. And in their last episode, I think it's episode 74 of the Doctor Who podcast, they come up with the theory that River is Amy's daughter.
Yes.
But Amy is River's daughter.
That's a real paradox.
A real paradox. So there you are, DoctorWhoPodcast.com. Check them out. Download their podcast and listen to the Amy River daughter paradox. Hello, guys, if you're watching.
That sounds a bit like the Doctor having a daughter who gets married to the Doctor.
Well, they were.
Peter Davison and David Tennant.
There's now stranger than than real life, really. I suppose you couldn't make it up.
Okay, so what do you want to move on to next?
Let's have a look at our DVD review of the week.
DVD review of the week. Now, the new DVD doesn't come out till next week, which
for some people, depending on
if you've ordered from Amazon or whatever. The next one is Mannequin Mania, which is Terror of the Autons and
Spearhead from Space. Spearhead from Space has been remastered.
Remastered, yes, because it was originally shot on 16mm film, so they could really do up to a high quality. But so you've chosen something else for us to review this week until we get around to that, and so you've chosen The Seeds of Doom.
Yes, well, The Seeds of Doom, I had bought this DVD, I think it was, when did it come out? Sort of like October, I think.
Last year. You want to know something? This shows you how silly I can be. When you first texted me and said we're going to review The Seeds of Doom, I thought, on the most recent releases, I actually thought you meant The Seeds of Death. The Ice Warriors story.
Oh, okay.
The Restorations box set. But anyway, this is a much better story than that one.
Seeds of Doom. This is one of the ones I really do remember as a kid when it was on originally.
Because this one really is an absolute scare the hell out of you, scare little kids.
And this is a great example of a 6-episode one that works really well with 6 episodes.
Well, the reason I think it works is because they actually treated it effectively as a 2-part story and a 4-part story.
Yes, yeah.
With an overriding story arc to it. So you've got 2 episodes,
the Antarctic
which are
story.
set them in the Antarctic, and whole different location, but setting up all the characters and everything, setting up what the Crinoid are about, and then moving to England for the next 4 parts for the same characters, same setup, but because you already know these characters, you can get straight into the action. And this is a bit like the Talons of Weng Chiang. It's a 6-part story in which there's no padding to it.
Well,
It's
I mean,
just 6
to put it
cool-
into the context of the more recent episodes, I mean, you had the Last of the Time Lords 3-part story, where Utopia was a different location to the next 2, and that was actually 145 minutes and then 190 minutes. So that's actually got very much the same parallel. But we do have the trailer, so let's have a look at that.
Here we go. For those of you who, oddly enough, here's a trailer for you.
What you have done could result in the total destruction of all life on this planet.
What is a Crinoid?
I suppose you would call it a galactic weed.
It's as if he's turning into some sort of a hideous monster.
I'm sending you on a little errand, Scobie.
Where is the pod?
If we don't find that pod before it germinates, it'll be the end of everything. Everything, you understand? Even your pension.
You're full of good ideas, Doctor.
People are replaceable, Scobie. The Crinoid is unique.
You want me to die? There is no chance!
Miss Smith will be our subject.
Seeds of Doom.
This is really this
story.
is one of my favourites. It really is.
Yes.
I just think it's really good. If you haven't actually got this DVD, this is really a DVD worth getting. It's just a really good example of very accessible.
Before you get to the actual extras, this is a long story. It's 6 parts, but it's a great story. And as you said, it's accessible Doctor Who. If somebody had never watched Doctor Who before, this is one that they can hit the ground running with, and it's just a great story.
Yeah, no, it is. And if you didn't get what the story was, they find these seed pods in the Antarctic. And of course, through human greed, they bring them back to England. And of course, you've got this creature that comes out, infects people, and turns them into giant walking plants.
The first 2 episodes, obviously very influenced by the 1950s film The Thing from Another World.
Well, this is what I was going to ask you. Do you think John Carpenter saw this? Because The Thing from Another World is set in a spaceship.
Yes.
But actually, this story was set in the Antarctic. And then John Carpenter's remake of The Thing from Another World, called just The Thing, is then set in the Antarctic as well.
Did
he see this on? Would John Carpenter have watched this on PBS in America?
He may have done, but he did go back to the original storyline from the book by D.W. Griffiths, Who Goes There. But I thought there was some absolutely, especially in the climax of the first episode, is absolutely terrifying, actually, when you think this is supposed to be a show aimed at families, where the seeds are opening and they're holding Sarah's hand down to try and infect her with it. That's really actually quite disturbing stuff. It's what you'd expect in a Hammer horror movie or something like that, not in a family, which was pretty indicative of the stories around this period. There was a lot of stories like this, Pyramids of Mars.
This is the Gothic era for those fans who are sort of new to Tom Baker's era. But this is the Gothic era, which is just really any DVD from this era, I think, is just really worth having in any collection.
Anything in season 13 or 14, they really did push the boat out in stuff that was very dark, very disturbing, very scary. You know, this was a pretty disturbing, and it's amazing that and Mary Whitehouse was having kittens.
Yes, no, indeed. I mean, it's, we're talking about Day of the Moon, and people saying it's too dark for kids, but Doctor Who always has had that kind of aspect to it.
It also reminded me a bit, though, the dynamic of the way the Doctor's behaving in this, and the way it reminded me a bit of the Avengers, oddly enough, in which it's kind of like the Doctor
Steed and
is
Mrs.
kind
Peel.
of like, yes, they get a phone call from a unit. There's some problem, or the British government. There's some problems going on. Set the Doctor to go look at it.
I mean, this, was kind of a Pertwee era type of story, really.
And this is actually I think this is the last. Even though there's you got no Brigadier in it, you've got no Benton in it. Mike Yates had gone ages ago, but this is like the last proper unit story.
Yes.
Even though there's Nicholas Courtney wasn't available to be in it, and they don't have Benton in it, but this was like the last unit story, and the last time the Doctor takes a phone call from unit.
Well, that's
along and help
probably
us out.
because in this story, the unit guy he gets involved with is a pen pusher.
Yeah.
And he wants to do everything by the book. And, but yes, not until Sylvester McCoy was it?
Unit didn't return as a fighting force till Battlefield.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So. Tom Baker. Well, he's my Doctor. I think he's your Doctor too.
Hugely popular. I would probably say. I think it would be accurate to say that until David Tennant came along, if you stopped anybody in the street and said, "Who's Doctor Who?"
Yes.
Tom Baker. Yeah, oddly enough, I think David Tennant's now actually overseated him as the most popular
I think actually
Doctor.
also for American audiences because
he was the Doctor they were introduced to.
He was absolutely. He was the PBS Doctor effectively, wasn't he?
It was kind of interesting that since Doctor Who started very much that you had William Hartnell, then Patrick Troughton took over and became more popular than William Hartnell. Then John Pertwee took over, and really suddenly the show hit the stratosphere then. I mean, a lot of people say Doctor Who's cool now and everything, but when John Pertwee took over in the role, Doctor
It was
Who
a very popular show.
It was a hugely popular show. And nobody thought he could be bigger than John Pertwee. Then Tom Baker took over. And oddly enough, I don't know, I couldn't really put the blame on Peter Davison, because I think he was really good in the role as well. But it just seemed to be, after Tom Baker, it was just him in the general public's mind. It was Tom Baker they all thought of until, as I said, David Tennant came along, and David Tennant kind of like became the general public's Doctor. And to some extent, I think Matt Smith is still working to take over from David Tennant in the general public's mind. I think,
sure, yeah. I mean, it might be another year or so. I mean, hopefully this could be the season that puts him on, because it looks like we're going to have some great stories and from great stories, hopefully some great acting, and if I'm sure. Now
also the got to say, with the Seeds of Doom DVD, it's also, as per usual, a fantastic job by the restoration team in cleaning up the episodes. They look brand new, and also got a full set of extras, documentary on the making of, and so forth. Indeed, audio commentary with Tom Baker. You got info text on it, so you're getting the kind of extras which are really reserved for a huge budget movie, and you don't really normally see.
And actually,
on TV
the extras are all on a separate disc as well.
Yes.
It is a 2-disc.
So because it's 6-parter, they put the 6 parts on one disc and then the extras on another, so you get the maximum quality or video quality out of the 6 parts.
So good. She's got a picture of a crinoid.
Yes, crinoid.
Crinoid, sorry, a crinoid.
Now that was actually originally an axon.
Well, this is the thing, because I've got the character option axon action figure, and if I painted it green, it would look like a crinoid.
Yeah, but what they apparently did was they just grabbed the axon costumes out of the wardrobe and just sprayed it green. And that was, but of course, as a crinoid mutates and it grows, it transformed into
a giant elephant size.
And you actually got some very interesting stop motion animation. The only actual downside I could say to the episode, the only thing which kind of ruined it for me, was when the crinoid started talking. That was vaguely embarrassing at that point, and I just...
And, we mustn't forget, of course, Boise.
Yes, but he's brilliant.
Boise is brilliant.
He is like a total, really scary, nasty piece of work thug.
He was brilliant.
And he actually shows he's actually a very good dramatic actor.
Very classic sort of 1970s thug.
Yeah.
TV thug, isn't he? So, what have we got? We have John Renegade, yes. Very similar feel to John Carpenter's The Thing. A lot of shouty Tom. Great performance. Jitesh Vora, scary equals great. Abby Queen of All says, kids are a lot smarter than we think. They can handle the dark.
I to this day, like once or twice a month, I will still have nightmares about Mr. Sin.
Mr. Sin, well,
The Talons of Wang Chan, I think I was 6 years old when I watched that, and that scared the bejesus out of me. I had trouble, that scarred me for life.
The guy who plays Chasen, I think, gives a great performance in this. He is the villain. Chasen is the villain, who's this multi-millionaire who has to collect the rarest plants, and of course,
Yes.
an alien seed pod.
Here we
It's
have
got
a
to be the rarest thing you can get.
Here we have a picture of him tormenting poor Set, and he always had those black leather gloves on. throughout
Yeah,
the whole,
I mean-
which oddly enough, something about black leather gloves that adds an air of sinister and nastiness to it even more.
But yeah, that's sort of the multi-millionaire, eccentric, evil villain. I mean, probably used in Doctor Who quite often.
Yeah.
But this particular performance, I just think he's just brilliant. He absolutely is brilliant. He just gets it really, really, really well. So yeah, if you've not seen much Tom Baker, if you don't own that DVD yet, I do recommend this one. It is one of my personal favourites, and Sean's as well, and quite a few in the chat room I can see really likes it as well.
Now, and talking of merchandise, what other? I believe you actually have brought us in some merchandise to have some.
Well, this
fun
was a gift from Michelle. Read us.
Hello, Michelle.
If you want to come around and say hello. This is Michelle, everyone.
Hello.
Just to prove that there are some female and there are some pretty Doctor Who fans out there.
Character options. I've got a fake Lego type thing going on.
Why can't they do Lego? I mean, just imagine if there was Lego Doctor Who and you could play with it with your Lego Harry Potter and Lego Star Wars. And my God, it is! It just looks just like Lego.
That looks exactly like Lego, doesn't it? Don't you think?
Are Lego going to be suing or something?
I was actually going to attempt to see if I could build this TARDIS live here on the show, but it actually looks like it's got too many pieces. I'm not quite sure I'll be able to get away with it.
There's your Matt Smith.
And there's an Amy Pond.
There's an Amy. Oh, the legs are a bit too short. Do you know, that looks more like Donna Tate to me.
I think I need to ban someone from the chat room. I don't know how to do that because they're being a... Oh, here we go. Ban. Sorry,
bye.
Boss of all bosses, 69. You're
You're
gone.
not the boss of us anymore. Does this look like Amy Pond to you, or does that look more like Donna Tate? Yeah, we got. This is like I would die if they did Doctor Who Lego, but this is like a fake Lego.
I want to build this, but I don't think I'm going to have enough time. There's too many pieces. Abby, Queen of All, send us your photo. We can put it on. She wants to. She's also a female fan of Doctor Who. She's in our chat room right now.
We want to hear from all female fans of Doctor Who.
So there you are.
Especially Amy Pond cosplayers.
There you are. Doctor Who TARDIS mini set from Character Options. Do you have any character options stuff?
I don't actually. No.
I think they're great. I think they've been
doing
great.
If I'd been like this kind of stuff that had been coming out when I was 8 years old, I'd
it'd be amazing. Isn't it amazing?
I used to have the Tom Baker action. You remember there was like the action figure Tom Baker, like almost like an action man, and I had the giant robot and some Daleks and a Cyberman. The Cyberman had a nose to him.
Yeah, I had some Daleks. I did have some Daleks. I mean, everyone had a Dalek, I think.
Yeah.
So, is there anybody in the chat room who want to bring up anything else you want to talk about? Leia Sora says, I'm a redhead and I have a crack in my wall. Your argument is invalid. Ooh. And the Rockstar says, I'm a female Whovian and doing an Amy Pond cosplay for a convention. Which convention?
What convention are you going to? As a curiosity. I'll get some video footage for you guys when I did Dragon Con at Atlanta last year, and I was shocked how many people were doing. I was at an American convention in Atlanta, and probably the biggest thing in cosplay at it for a TV show was Doctor Who.
Well, I think that would be great.
There I was at a Doctor Who convention. She's doing it at the MCM Expo.
MCM Expo,
yes. And you're at this a convention in Atlanta. And I walked into the bar on the Thursday night, and there was a bunch of people, not in costume, but there was about 10 people sat at the bar all wearing fezzes. And I said to them, why are you wearing fezzes? Which I wouldn't have said if I'd been at a British convention. And they said, we're all Matthew Smith fans.
I mean, a fez is, I suppose, one of the cheapest bits of cosplay you could do,
but actually, I thought it might be a Laurel and Hardy reference or something like that.
Well, Laurel and Hardy, of course, did appear in
they've
Impossible.
met Doctor Who now with their fezzes.
Do you know which film that was?
Were they wearing fezzes? Because if they're wearing their fezzes, that would be Sons of the Desert. Because
I think it was Sons of the Desert.
Sons of the Desert is the one in which the two of them wore a fez throughout the entire.
I think you're right.
And that is actually Sons of the Desert is seen as the best ever.
Zimmerzone says there was a sea of Amy Ponds at Gallifrey 1 in LA.
Yes, I keep on meaning to go to that convention. I hear it's very good. Gallifrey in Los Angeles. It's one of the world's biggest Doctor Who conventions.
See, I mean, what is Amy Pond? It's just
Just
red
a
hair
short
and a
skirt.
very short skirt.
Red hair, short skirt, great pair of legs, and a leather jacket or some sort. Maybe sometimes a scarf.
Abby Queen of All says, do you guys feel that the new Who fans are giving the proper credit to old school Who?
50-50. I find you get a lot of new fans who like new Doctor Who and they try out old Doctor Who, but you're also getting a lot of new fans who are only interested in new Doctor Who and then have no interest in it, especially because of the production values.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to watch a show. But you get that even with I mean, how many... I've been to Stargate Atlantis conventions where attendees there would not watch regular Stargate.
Yeah.
You know, you do sometimes get that, and I'm sure there's a lot of Star Trek fans who are Star Trek, Star
they
Trek
won't watch
Enterprise,
Voyager
whatever,
or anything,
and then
yeah.
they watch classic Star Trek and they go, "Oh, that's too cheap and nasty." So,
yeah, I do hope. I mean, I'm sure there are fans out there who do give the DVDs a try and actually try and discover stuff.
Well, it was interesting
because
like, when they
there are direct connections.
When they released The Hand of Fear.
Yeah.
On DVD, it really pushed that it was Sarah Jane.
Yes,
and when they released, what was it, The Invisible Enemy with K9 and company, and it pushed Sarah Jane again and K9.
Yeah.
And that also, what was it on every time they do a Sarah Jane one, also like the Time Warrior, they push Sarah Jane to the new fans and stuff like that.
And I think, one of the reasons we picked Seeds of Death this week is actually it is accessible.
Yeah.
And I think if you are a new only fan and you're looking for a story to watch, Seeds of Doom is just really one of those stories that's worth, it
holds up.
It holds up. It absolutely does. And, I think we'll be looking, obviously, there's only a new DVD to release once a month, but we'll be looking